Welcome to the Keys of Truth newsletter. This month I wanted to do it on video, so hopefully you can hear my heart. Donna and I just finished a 4-week series at Gateway Church in Grand Prairie on Keys of Truth. And in April, we're going to be doing a 3-hour intensive class at the South Lake campus on April the 15th. It's a Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And I wanted to personally invite you. But the thing I wanted to talk about most today is that during the class that we just taught, we were once again reminded of how important the Keys of Truth message is for everyone, from high school all the way up, because we've all been influenced by our environment and by our culture. And we know that what has happened is sometimes ignored because it feels so normal and familiar. But in the smack dab middle of those 4 weeks, someone texted me and said that Tucker Carlson on Fox News Network was doing a series every Wednesday night in the month of March. And the title of this series, she said, goes right along with your book, and you might want to check it out. The title was Men in America. Well, I watched the first one, and I have the transcript right here in my hand. And in some ways, it was extremely confirming to me, and it let me know that I wasn't crazy. But in other ways, it made me really, really sad, because it isn't my imagination. There is definitely something happening to the men in America. Sadly, they think women are blaming it all on them. The truth is, women did it, and we don't even know we did it, because many of you out there have no idea that before the 60s, even though there needed to be change for women, before the 60s, it was a very different world than it is now. Bible stories, talking about church, talking about Jesus, talking about God was all okay and pretty normal. If you Google some of those old shows, the other night Dawn was watching The Rifleman just to remember what it was like when he was a kid. And the whole last 5 minutes of that episode was the dad literally almost verbatim word for word telling his son the story of Job. There's a generation right after mine that has no idea that used to be the norm. So we have been lulled to sleep in so many ways, and it started, I believe, when women who were hurt and angry needed to be seen and heard. And one female, with the help of maybe a few others, got into the Supreme Court and had prayer and Bible reading taken out of schools in, I think, 1962 or 1963. With that came the absolute truth, who we as Christians believe is a person, not just a concept, Jesus. That absolute truth was escorted out of our schools and eventually out of many of our homes. Sadly, sometimes I wonder if he's been escorted out of churches. I know that sounds harsh, but the more I watch what's happening to our nation, the more I know that we were called as churches and true families of God to be the change. So, after looking at this transcript, I was more stoked, more encouraged, and more charged and challenged than ever to get the truth, the keys of truth about men and women and us partnering together and with God out there so other people can recognize the lie that we have been fed, and we're marching to a cadence that we're not even aware of. There are a few things in this Tucker Carlson transcript I wanted to share with you, and I'm sorry to tell you in advance, it's kind of depressing and a little bit horrifying. But truth is truth, and until we know the truth, we cannot contrast it to the lie. And once we contrast it to the lie, we have to go back to God and to the Word of God and see what He says about the truth. And if the church is to be the change agent, we need to get on the ball. And we need to get this truth out there, and we need to stand and speak truth in love. So, Carlson says this: You hear a lot in America about the war on women, but it's men in America who are failing. We have some shocking statistics. Now, I'm not going to read the whole transcript to you, but he cites the fact that the shootings in America have all been done by men. He cites the fact that something ominous is happening to the men in America. He also says that our culture and our media tells us they're fine and that they're oppressors and women are victims. Let me tell you something. That is true in some cases, but women are a lot stronger than most of us give them credit for. And you know what? Even though men are called to be the providers, the protectors, and the leaders, we are called to be the collectors, connectors, and supporters. We have gifts as females that men do not have, and vice versa. We were created to need one another. Tucker talks about all of the things that the media tells us about women, men and women, and a lot of that information wouldn't even stand in true statistical studies across the board, but we don't even recognize it. He talks about the fact that in the workforce, they're declining, that in the getting married area and staying married, men are declining, that in the buying homes as single people, men buy fewer homes than women do. In doctoral programs and in physician programs and high professional paying jobs, there are more women now than men, and that most managers are women and not men. He also talks about the fact that that a lot of men can't even pass the physical exam to get into the armed forces now because their physical stature has not been developed. Now, those of us who know that our bodies and our spirits are succinctly connected, what I would propose in this is that from the 60s, in the emasculation of men, men have been beaten down. Women have taken the men's swords away because we believe that they're not going to provide and protect us. They're not going to lead us. So over time, they stopped trying. Now, I was in the first grade when, in 1962, when prayer and Bible reading were removed from schools and women began to fight our way to the forefront. So that means that people my age, that now we are the age of being grandparents, there are 5.5 decades behind us that have been indoctrinated into this and we don't even know it. He goes on to say in this transcript, and this, I'm sorry, but this goes with Keys of Truth, but Keys of Truth gives the answers and tells us how to do what we're called to do and what will sustain us, make us feel significant with regard to how to counteract what's happening. But it says here, perhaps most terrifyingly, men seem to be becoming less male. Now listen to these statistics. Sperm counts across the West have plummeted down almost 60% since the early 1970s. Scientists don't know why. Testosterone levels in men have also fallen precipitously. One study found that the average levels of male testosterone dropped 1% every year after 1987. This is unrelated to age. The average 40-year-old man in 2017 would have testosterone levels 30% lower than the average 40-year-old man in 1987. Then he says, there is no upside to this. Lower testosterone levels in men are associated with depression, lethargy, weight gain, and decreased cognitive ability. Nothing like this has ever happened before. You'd think we'd want to know exactly what is going on and how to fix it, but the media ignore the story. It's considered a fringe topic. It's a lot. He talks about the fact that these numbers paint a very clear picture. American men are failing in body, mind, and spirit. This is a crisis. Let me just say, we can't ignore it, and it's not God's choice. And ladies, it can start with us. By doing some of the things that God called me to do with Don that changed his attitude toward me and my attitude toward him and brought us back together as a couple after 30 years work. And in doing that, it has increased every part of his masculinity. It can start with just one. But what I'm asking you to do is to at least come to a class and listen to some of the things that we have found are true. You, as a Christian, have been given power from on high, and knowing the truth will set you free. And in you getting free, we can help the people around us get free. It is my heart's desire that you would consider coming to this class on April the 15th. On Sunday morning at Gateway in Southlake and checking it out, because you can get a lot of information in that 3-hour class, and we've never done this before at Gateway. So it's a great opportunity to come and bring your friends. Also, even if you've read the book and come to a conference, guys tell me all the time you should review this information at least once a year, because we're walking around out there in that culture and it gets all over us and we are so familiar with it, it doesn't even faze us usually. So please, I'm asking you, if you have a book, reread it. If you can go onto the website, keysoftruth.org, and be reminded of what you know, please do that. The study guide is written to help anybody pull together a small group and do the study to stay on point. And if you don't know anything about it, please check it out at keysoftruth.org. Come to the class, order a book on Amazon or at any Gateway bookstore or at keysoftruth.org. We just want to help you, and we want to help turn this culture around. It's about time. Let's not let it fall anymore. We have power. Let's use it to love each other, to follow God, and to partner with Him and the males and females in your life. Thanks for listening. God bless you.